Every day, hundreds of thousands of patrolmen report for duty, armed with a badge and the latest in video technology. You are about to witness their never-before-seen footage, their stories caught on tape. Now on Disorderly Conduct, a lawman's worst nightmare. The day a town will never forget. Police pour on the pressure with everything from pepper balls to pit maneuvers. And this DUI suspect offers a roadside review of his arrest.
Hey, you realize, in my opinion, you are a piece of...
Opinionated or not, everyone can agree that it's time to get ready for Disorderly Conduct. You're about to witness one of the most dramatic scenes ever captured on tape. Georgia Sheriff's Deputy Stephen Rankin pulls over this car for a minor traffic violation. A close look shows that he presses his hand against the trunk. That's so his fingerprints can be used to identify the vehicle just in case something goes wrong. That's exactly what happens just seconds later. The man suddenly shoots Deputy Rankin in the face. Then the driver comes out and tries to fire again. When his gun jams, the suspect pistol whips the wounded deputy. He briefly loses his weapon, then picks it up and squeezes the trigger again. When his pistol still won't fire, he grabs for the lawman's service revolver. But despite a serious bullet wound, Deputy Rankin's will to survive kicks in. The frustrated suspect hits his victim a few more times before the deputy is able to run free. When the man takes off, Deputy Rankin is able to shoot out his back window. As the gunman roars into the night, lawmen throughout the area hear a desperate plea from one of their own.
I've been shot. Lane Station Road, quarter mile south, 300 Central.
Squad cars race to the scene, but the nearest officer is miles away in this rural part of Georgia.
I've been shot in my head. Hold on, bud, we'll be there.
Despite having a bullet lodged in his neck, Deputy Rankin is somehow able to radio a description.
He was an older model Mercury Sable, black male driver.
4.5 agonizing minutes later, an officer sees Deputy Rankin's emergency lights in the distance. When the trooper arrives, he sees his fellow officer kneeling next to his cruiser. He rushes to assess Deputy Rankin's condition, then goes to update an approaching ambulance. The tape ends here, but the story doesn't. The suspect is quickly captured and is later sentenced to 63 years in prison for the attempted murder of a peace officer. As for Deputy Rankin, he faces months of rehabilitation, but has no plans to leave the force. Georgia troopers have pursued a lot of stubborn suspects, but few are as determined as this driver. Officers try to slow down a stolen pickup truck just west of Atlanta. The man seems unfazed by the fact that he's outnumbered by 6 squad cars and an eye in the sky. These troopers are among the best in the business, but police work can be an inexact science, especially when you're dealing with desperate
First, they try to box in the pickup.
But the suspect manages to maneuver his way out of the trap. Next, officers try the precision immobilization technique, the pit maneuver. But the elusive escapee still avoids capture. The suspect cuts across the median and drives the wrong way up the shoulder of the interstate. An officer pulls his weapon as the suspect bears down on him. Then he's forced to jump for his life. Interstate 20 is definitely not a safe place to be, as the defiant driver travels against traffic and against all odds. The cop in the camera car decides he is in the best position for another pit maneuver. But the suspect turns at the last instant and gets away yet again. This could turn tragic at any second. And if it's going to end safely, the time to act is now. The third time's a charm as the pit rocks the suspect's world and sends the chase to a rolling stop. Incredibly, no one is hurt in the crash, but that's the only good news for the suspect. He may have escaped injury, but he won't escape jail. He's booked on 9 different felonies, including attempting to elude, assault on a police officer, and theft. The weather is nasty in Knoxville on this winter day. Tennessee trooper Rodney Redmond is stopped on the side of the road. He goes to get something from his patrol car with his back to the speeding traffic. In seconds, his life will change forever. A driver clips the squad car and slams into the trooper, hurling him 10 feet into the air like a limp rag doll. It's unimaginable that he survived the hit, but that's nothing compared to this miracle. Speeding vehicles miss him by inches. As this shocked patrolman jumps to his feet and runs to the side of the road for safety. Trooper Redmond survives the hit from the 2-ton SUV, as every driver on the highway miraculously manages to avoid him. It took weeks of hospital recovery time for this fortunate trooper. As for the driver, she was charged with driving under the influence of a narcotic and possession of drug paraphernalia. Straight ahead on disorderly conduct. A man armed with a grudge and a bulldozer takes down a town. And a cruiser gets down and dirty with a van on the run. It's all next on Disorderly Conduct. In the normally quiet little town of Granby, Colorado, a monster is on the loose. A rampaging 85-ton bulldozer covered with thick steel plating. Inside, 3 mounted guns and 1 very angry man intent on revenge. The man believes that local zoning laws drove his small muffler shop out of business. Now he's going to return the favor by literally driving over this town. After weeks of preparation, he has emerged from his garage welded inside the baddest machine in the county. A terrifying sight that the townspeople will forever remember as the Killdozer. 200 rounds from a police SWAT team cannot stop him. Opposing heavy machinery is powerless before him. The one-man blitzkrieg cuts open buildings and smashes cars like toys, piling up $5 million in damage. 13 targets are total, including City Hall, the local newspaper, and the home of the former mayor. 3 police cruisers are nearly flattened into blue and white pancakes. The rampage continues unabated for over 90 minutes. Until finally, the killdozer falls silent from a busted radiator. Cops have to use a crane to force open the top. Inside, the man has tragically taken his own life with a shotgun. The town is in shambles. And yet, not a single injury resulted from this horrific devastation. Neighbors say the man wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He just wanted to make a point. Point taken. A surveillance camera at a fast food restaurant in Hollywood, Florida, captures a terrifying scene. Lunchtime customers back away as a gunman vaults over the counter. A second camera shows the stunned reaction of the cashier. She raises her hands and offers no resistance. Another camera picks up a second robber as customers dive under a table. A gunman threatens to shoot the woman if she doesn't give him the cash right now. But she's too nervous and fumbles with the register. He returns to make good on his promise. She covers her face as he pulls the trigger twice. But nothing happens. The horrified woman tries again to get him the cash, but she's way too rattled. It's the first hour of her first day on the job, and she's just learning how to use the register. The gunman jumps back over the counter while his accomplice rummages through a purse he grabbed from one of the customers. The fast-moving bandits flee as the woman runs for help. The entire incident unfolds in just 30 terrifying seconds. Police couldn't tell from the video if the gun was unloaded or if it jammed when the armed thief pulled the trigger. One thing is certain, this cashier will never forget her first day on the job and the masked gunman who threatened to make it her last. Police in Crestview, Florida respond to a 911 call from an employee at a grocery store.
I just got robbed by a woman in a white van. She's run behind the store at compound 56.
Officers quickly catch up with the suspect. A patrol car pulls out in front of the van. But rather than slow down, the woman jockeys for position, trying to find a way out of the box. The lead cruiser blocks every attempt to get around him. She's forced to abandon that idea and takes an alternate route down a dirt road. The van rolls back onto the paved road, then off again. This time riding on lawns and recklessly cutting between houses. The suspect is on a road to nowhere, and squad cars foil her every attempt to break out. Police are right on her tail as she nearly slides off the dirt road on a sharp turn. When she finally runs out of road, she takes off through a field. A small dog scampers out of the way as police see an opportunity to bring this chase to an end. These two dash cams show one cruiser pulling in front of the suspect, while the other gets up close and personal with the back of her van. She tries to squeeze her way past the lead cruiser, but the officer isn't about to let her by. He churns up a cloud of dust as he hits the gas and digs in. The suspect pushes the cruiser down the dirt road until the trailing squad car rams the side of the van and pins her in. The woman is quickly arrested and faces a number of felony charges, including robbery, aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, fleeing and eluding police, and reckless driving. When disorderly conduct returns, police unleash a volley of pepper balls at a defiant suspect. And a reckless driver puts an innocent young life at risk when he runs from police. Coming right at you on Disorderly Conduct. It's a bizarre scene in Tucson, Arizona, as police launch a barrage of pepper balls and paintballs at a man reported to be armed and dangerous. The suspect and his cousin are accused of assault during a bar fight. The non-lethal pellets repeatedly strike the big man, bouncing off his body. Officers spent over 15 minutes trying to convince him to surrender before they opened fire. Again and again, police order the suspect to the ground, but he refuses to comply. He also ignores pleas from his cousin. The suspect doubles over in pain, but he manages to stay on his feet as he continues to disregard commands from police to get down. He swats at the stinging cloud, trying to clear it away. But the airborne irritant and the pain from the plastic rounds slamming into his body begin to take their toll. The suspect is finally on the ground, but won't stay still. Again, his cousin yells at him to do as he's told. After battering the suspect with over 55 non-lethal rounds, officers get him in handcuffs and up on his feet. But he quickly collapses to the pavement. 3 officers grab him by the limbs and lift, while a motorcycle cop draws his gun and aims it at the cousin in the car. The suspect received numerous welts and bruises from his painful and defiant encounter with police. No weapon is found, but the suspect is charged with assault, resisting arrest, and possession of marijuana. His cousin is also charged with assault. A man refuses to pull over for a routine traffic stop. Instead, he steps on the gas and leads police on a high-speed chase through Douglasville, Georgia. A cruiser is right on his tail as the SUV turns off the main highway. The suspect picks up speed on the side road as he looks for an escape route. When he crosses in front of the cruiser, the officer rams the rear of the SUV. The lawman has no way of knowing there's a 6-month-old baby in the back seat. It appears the suspect is willing to risk the life of a child in order to make his getaway. The baby's mother and another female passenger are also inside the speeding SUV as it races through city streets. The suspect pays no attention to traffic signs or speed limits, and pursuing police are still unaware there's a baby on board. A line of squad cars stay with him as he recklessly tries to shake them. Police follow him over a curb and back onto the main road when he changes direction yet again. Showing no regard for his precious cargo, the suspect accelerates and rams head-on into a cruiser blocking his escape. Amazingly, the baby and the women are uninjured in the jolting crash. The thoughtless driver ran from the crash scene. He left behind a large amount of cash, and police suspect he was dealing drugs. The man who put so many innocent lives at risk was later arrested and charged with reckless driving, eluding arrest, and damage to government property. Moments away on disorderly conduct. A speeding biker outraces police until he takes a turn for the worse. And a suspect roars like he's king of the road. It's a jungle out there on disorderly conduct. A dangerous chase is underway in Catawba County, North Carolina. The pursuit began in a neighboring county when the speeding motorcycle roared past a sheriff's cruiser. The man on the bike pushes his Honda to 135 miles per hour on the two-lane road. He recklessly rides the center line, forcing cars on both sides of him to take evasive action. The biker appears to be playing a high-speed game of chicken with everyone on the road. A deadly game that could come to a tragic end at any moment. He's moving so fast that even this high-powered cruiser loses sight of him at one point. But the officer is back on his tail just as the bike turns onto another road. It's a bad decision by the guy on the Honda, but a good one for police. This road has more twists and turns that force the biker to slow down more often. The cruiser is never far behind and closing fast. The suspect pushes his luck too far on a tight turn. And the cruiser finally catches up. The suspect goes too fast and runs his Honda off the road. He's back on the pavement when the cruiser crashes into him. He takes off running, but doesn't get far. Police search him and discover that the speeding biker is transporting speed, crystal methamphetamine. The suspect is charged with speeding to elude arrest and trafficking crystal methamphetamine, along with careless, reckless driving. An armed robbery is in progress at a pharmacy in Plano, Texas. The clerk in the white jacket wrestles with the red-haired robber in the blue jacket trying to grab her gun. The fight for control of the lethal weapon sends the two women crashing into the counter, knocking over a computer before they trip and tumble to the floor. The robber drops her gun as the clerk overpowers her and punches away. The woman bandit grabs a handful of the clerk's hair, but loses her own red wig in the struggle. A male employee steps between the women and pushes the suddenly blonde-haired robber behind the counter. She fights back and tries to get around him, but he's not only bigger and stronger than her, he's also holding her gun. The employee appears to have matters well in hand when he sees someone approaching the counter. The man in the baseball cap is the woman's accomplice. Her partner in crime doesn't seem eager to tangle with the armed employee, who orders them to leave. Before leaving, the woman picks up the scarf, mask, and wig she used to disguise her identity. She and her accomplice then head for the exit as the employee urges them to step on it. Once they're outside the store, he picks up the phone and calls 911. Police arrest the pair a few days later, thanks to the brave clerk who exposed the woman's true identity. And the employee who picked up her gun and put an end to this attempted robbery. It turns out that the woman and her accomplice are also mother and son. The members of this small-time crime family are charged with aggravated robbery. Folks in Fridge, Texas are a friendly bunch. So when a local man falls down, lots of people stop to help. The only problem is this guy is determined to stay under this truck and have a heated conversation with himself. He doesn't appear to be a threat, but it can't hurt to have the police check him out. The officer recognizes him and presumes that he must be high on something.
I can't feel my face.
Still, this guy doesn't appear to be dangerous, so the officer casually goes to get his raincoat. Moments later, the man swings into action with a sudden burst of energy. As townfolk wisely step back, he seems to think he's a robot. Then he decides to take out his aggression. Everyone keeps their cool as they wait to see what's next in his bag of tricks.
Calm down for me, all right?
It turns out to be a Tarzan imitation. Next, he goes into monster mode.
Go ahead and step back. Step back for me.
As the suspect continues to advance toward the officer off camera, it's a perfect time to pull out the pepper spray.
Step back for me. Get on the ground.
The chemicals and the pepper spray are non-lethal, but the man seems to think he's checked into heaven.
I'm already dead. Help me. I'm already dead, but it can't kill me.
The good news is he's taken to a hospital instead of a funeral home.
I'm going to heaven. I'm going to heaven.
And, as you may have guessed, he ends up testing positive for the drug PCP. Next on Disorderly Conduct, an undercover cop counts the dough for some cocaine cookies.
11, 12, 13, 14.
And a standoff ends when a gunman gets hosed by police. There's more action ahead on Disorderly Conduct. Sirens echo through the woods near Eastland, Florida. Franklin County Sheriff's deputies are in hot pursuit of a suspected drug dealer and his female passenger. Officers think the pair just dropped off a pound of marijuana, and now they want them to answer for their crime. The cruiser with the camera pulls ahead of the suspects to possibly block them in. A few seconds later, when the driver attempts to pass, the officer tries to pit him. The pit maneuver doesn't take him out of action, but the suspects aren't going far. Seconds later, the pair is caught between a squad car and an officer in an unmarked SUV. When the driver makes another move, it's time for another pit. Off camera, the driver jumps out and runs. A deputy has trouble getting his gun from his ankle holster, but in the end, it doesn't matter. Both suspects are quickly arrested and charged with possession of a controlled substance when drugs are found in the car. In addition, the driver must answer for felony fleeing. A drug buy is going down in a Gainesville, Florida motel room, and the hidden surveillance camera captures it all. The man in the jacket and his 3 female friends have no idea that they are meeting with an undercover cop. That's a so-called cookie of crack cocaine, and the man wants $1,900 for 2 of them.
Say 1900 even?
The plainclothes officer must make sure every transaction happens right in front of the camera. As the ladies nervously watch, the cop counts out the cash.
18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19.
After a little small talk, there comes a knock at the door.
Actually, it looks like a Merry Christmas to me.
Officers were just outside the door waiting for the deputy to utter these magic words.
Actually, it looks like a Merry Christmas to me.
Seconds later, cops come a-knocking. 5 deputies bust into the motel room and take down the stunned suspects. Their next room is downtown, where the man is booked for trafficking in cocaine and the women for conspiracy to traffic in cocaine. It all starts with a simple traffic stop in Fort Worth, Texas. The officer has no way of knowing that the driver of that white Lincoln is inside the store robbing the clerk. The lawman calmly chats with the driver.
No, the center turn lane's not a passing lane.
Moments later, the store's clerk comes out running. You can hear the suspect's car peel out.
354, report of a robbery from this location.
And now the chase is on. Despite the suspect's head start, the officer quickly has him in his sights. As more officers join the hunt, the driver takes them on an extensive tour of the Fort Worth area. He starts in a residential section, then takes to the freeway, where he weaves in and out of traffic. Soon he's back on surface streets, where he speeds through red lights. Listen as the pursuing officer second-guesses himself on this tight turn.
Damn it. Oh, pit him. I should have pitted him. I could have pitted him.
Seconds later, he has some advice for the suspect.
Give it up, dude. It ain't worth it. Going to jail.
Then as the pursuit approaches cross traffic, it looks like things are about to turn ugly.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
Somehow, no one is hit. But officers know that won't be the case if this guy isn't stopped soon. Now, with night falling and rain coming down, the pursuit nears Grand Prairie, Texas.
Welcome to my hometown, sir. You just made the worst mistake of your life.
As the chase nears the officer's place of residence, this becomes more and more personal.
Yeah, you don't want to go to my house.
Finally, 100 miles after it all began, the suspect rolls to a stop. Officers approach with guns drawn. But they quickly back off when the driver flashes his own handgun. Now it's a standoff that will last well into the night. The suspect is willing to talk with police over the phone, but he refuses to put down his gun. Finally, after this goes on and on, police decide to apply some extra pressure, water pressure. It doesn't take long before officers have their man in custody. After 100 miles, 5 hours, and 3 cities, the drama is finally over with no injuries. The suspect is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon as well as aggravated robbery. Around the corner on disorderly conduct. Some suspects are in your face. And some are head and shoulders above it all. The long and short of it coming at you on disorderly conduct. Every police officer learns how to size up a suspect, but this guy presents an especially tall order. 5'4" Deputy Julie Welch is trying to search a driver who stands almost 7 feet tall. A dashboard camera captures the scene as the Holly Springs, Georgia officer checks his pockets for drugs. When Deputy Welch gets the goods, she brings out the handcuffs. But the suspect refuses to submit as Deputy Welch fights a foe who's almost 20 inches taller than her. Good news awaits just off camera. A passing motorist sees the unfair fight and helps subdue the lanky lawbreaker. The suspect is reportedly charged with felony obstruction of an officer and cocaine possession. The Good Samaritan is presented with a commendation for bravery, and Deputy Welch has a tall tale that's actually true. It's a small-town pursuit of a big-time suspect. Deputies from Archer, Florida are determined to bring in a man wanted for trying to kill a fellow officer. The suspect was on the run for just 1 day before he was spotted on this desolate country road. It isn't long before cruisers descend on the chase from all directions. A second dash cam rides with another deputy as he tries to block him in. He sees the pursuit up ahead as it races in his direction. The dispatcher puts out an ominous warning.
You try to ram a unit, you circle back around and head back out. Watch out.
The camera picks up the story from here. The suspect doesn't even slow down as he rams the deputy head on. Here's the view from the other cruiser as it boxes in the suspect. Despite his desperate attempts to elude capture, the suspect's running days have ended. There are a few banged-up squad cars. But fortunately, no one is injured in the drama. The suspect faces aggravated assault charges as well as the original warrant for attempted murder. A deputy in Hillsborough County, Florida, closes in on a speeding RV towing a trailer.
Traveling 80 miles an hour, one breakaway.
The officer has seen enough and tries to pull the driver over. But the RV ignores the siren and flashing lights. Suddenly, the large motorhome turns off the highway, dragging a metal chair from its trailer. A second cruiser approaches on the left.
Don't try to cut him off or run you right over.
The deputy maneuvers his cruiser alongside the RV.
And I might be getting him pulled over now.
The glassy-eyed driver has no idea why police stopped him.
What you do wrong is you had too much to drink. I'm placing you in custody for driving while under the influence, okay?
Officers place the suspect in the back seat of the cruiser.
What's my damn bond? For driving intoxicated. $500. All right, that's the only thing you'll hear out of me.
His vow of silence is short-lived.
You realize, in my opinion, you are a piece of as far as it's just my opinion, then you can't do nothing, can you? Thank you.
But his attitude does a 180 when he asks for a favor.
I know I've been a Can you call my mom's house and let somebody come pick up?
Apology over. He's soon back to a familiar theme.
I love saying in my opinion, and it clears me of no matter what I say. Ain't that good? Ain't that cool? Because in my opinion, y'all a bunch of That's gotta just perturb your ass, don't it? I know it does. And I love knowing that.
The deputy pulls over in a less busy area to administer a sobriety breath test and hand the suspect over to another officer. The suspect is charged with driving under the influence, fleeing and eluding police, and reckless driving.
Because in my opinion, y'all a bunch of man.
It will be his actions, not his words, that send him to jail.
Okay, here you go. He's yours.
Even a deputy is allowed his opinion, too.
Unbelievable.
Cherry Sunday.